You get $15, bro, my sister smirked at me, ready to inherit her father's $160 million fortune. I quietly waited for the lawyer to read the next page. Her face turned white when, "My name is Sean. I'm 31. I work as a delivery driver. Early mornings, long routes, too much coffee. I keep my head down. I pay my own bills. I fix what I can and let the rest slide. That's been my role in our family for as long as I can remember. The quiet one, the dependable one, the extra set of hands that shows up and lifts the heavy thing. My sister, Naomi, is the opposite. She's shiny. She's the kind of person my dad used to call built for big rooms. Designer heels, perfect hair, a voice that can fill a house. She got the best schools, the best opportunities, the best explanations when she messed up. If I did something good, the reaction was nice. If she did something normal, the reaction was confetti. Our dad, Thomas Keene, built a regional logistics company from a single truck into a monster. Warehouses on both coasts. Contracts with names you see on billboards. The papers called him a self-made titan. When people asked what I did, I said deliveries, and watched their eyebrows move like I told a joke. The truth is, I spent a lot of years running his forgotten routes. Nights. Storms. The stuff that had to get there because a promise was attached. He'd pat my shoulder and say, "Good man." Then walk Naomi through a boardroom like a prince showing off a crown. Dad died in April. Heart. We buried him on a Thursday. By Monday, I was sitting in a law office that smelled like old books and lemon polish. The conference table was long and dark. Photos of ships on the walls. Naomi wore black like it was custom fit for her. Mom dabbed at the corner of her eye and kept checking her phone. The partners stood in a neat line, serious faces, heavy folders. Everybody in that room knew we weren't talking about pocket change. Dad's estate was tied to a company people said was worth about $160 million. I sat at the end, hands in my lap, thinking about the way Dad's knuckles used to go white on the steering wheel when he hit black ice. Naomi leaned in without looking at me and whispered out of the side of her mouth, "You get $15, bro." She smirked, tapping her red nail against the glossy folder. "I get the rest." I didn't answer. I watched the senior partner, Mr. Lawson, flip a page and clear his throat like a judge. Everyone settled in. Chairs creaked. Pens clicked. Lemon polish and the faint smell of paper dust. He started with the usual: full name, date, last will, and testament. I stared at the edge of the table and counted the tiny dents someone had made with the ring. "You get $15, Naomi repeated under her breath, louder this time, like a joke she wanted the room to hear. "Because you're the sentimental one, right? Buy yourself a burger." I still said nothing. The lawyer turned another page. He paused. Something in his eyes shifted. Naomi crossed her legs and smiled at me. I watched the smile hold, then wobble, then fade as Lawson said, "And there is the second section. A codicil, executed 3 weeks before Mr. Keene's death." Her face lost color so fast it looked like someone dimmed a light. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just waited for him to read the next page. And that's where everything starts to break open. I wasn't always the guy who kept quiet. I learned it. Dad taught me that being useful was safer than being visible. He'd call at 4:50 a.m. and say, "Route 9 fell through. Can you take it?" I'd grab my keys, shove a granola bar in my pocket, and go. When Naomi needed a last-minute drive to a fundraiser, I went. When Mom wanted the guest room painted before her book club, I went. "Sean's good with a brush," she'd tell people, like I was a tool she kept in the garage. Money ran through our house like a set of rules. Dad had plenty, but the faucets were labeled. Naomi's faucet? Always on. Ski trips, internships, to learn leadership, an apartment with a doorman while she built experience. Mine? A trickle that came with a speech. "Pride, son," Dad would say. "A man should stand on his own feet." He'd forget to mention the times I covered payroll when a small client paid late. He'd forget the night my car died 3 hours from home and I slept in it because I didn't want to call him. But he never forgot to talk about pride. Naomi learned early that her mistakes made good stories. She crashed a brand new car at 19. "A lesson," Dad said. I cracked a taillight at 25 and paid for it twice. Once with cash, once with a month of "Are you focused?" speeches. Naomi bounced checks. I absorbed fees until she stabilizes. Naomi didn't stabilize. The rules just bent. I was Dad's shadow on the ground. The deliveries that needed hush. The clients who needed a face at midnight. He'd give Naomi the stage, the PowerPoints, the lunches, the Instagram photos where she looked like the face of the brand. He'd give me the locked gates and the notes that said, Use the second dock, no questions. I told myself it was trust, that I was the one he called when it mattered. When he got sick, quiet at first, then not. Our house turned into a spreadsheet. Naomi started saying sentences like, "We need to protect the brand," while emailing florists for the fundraiser she chaired. I started doing the pharmacy runs and sitting through appointments where doctors said long words and Dad pretended not to be scared. At night, I'd park the van and sit in the dark with the engine off, just listening. The engine pinged like cooling metal. My head felt empty in the way it only feels after a 14-hour day. One Thursday, Dad sat with me in the garage and said, "You were always steady." He stared at the floor drain like it held a secret. "I didn't make it easy on you." I didn't say anything. If you open your mouth at the wrong time in our family, you get handed a shovel and told to fix a hole you didn't dig. He coughed and changed the subject. "Naomi's built for the front of the house. You keep things moving. That matters." I nodded. It's wild how much you can crave 3 words, "I see you," and still not get them. When bills started stacking, medical, consulting, strategic, Mom did that thing where she turned gratitude into a list. "Sean, can you float the copays this week? You know how it is." I said yes. I said yes 12 times in 6 months. $120 here. $480 there. $1,200 on a card I shouldn't have used because the transmission was whining and I needed to save for it. I kept receipts in a shoebox like proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. "Why don't you ask Dad?" my friend Miguel said once, slinging a crate into my van. "Man's got more commas than a grammar test." "Because then it becomes a story," I said. "I'd rather it stays quiet." Naomi started planning a legacy gala while Dad was still alive. "It'll cheer him up," she said, holding mood boards with gold accents. I was in the garage, learning how to change out the oxygen tank. The house smelled like bleach and lilies. Dad watched an old trucking show on TV with the volume too low. On the day Dad signed a stack of papers at the house, estate planners, tax people, a guy who talked in bullets. Naomi wore white and smiled like a press photo. I made sandwiches and stayed in the kitchen because that was the safest place to be. "Sean, can you sign as witness?" one of the men asked, holding out a page. I wiped my hands on a towel and signed exactly where he pointed. I didn't read it. That's another thing I learned. In our house, reading the fine print was distrust. Asking questions was attitude. 2 weeks later, Naomi called me at midnight. "Can you pick me up from the Four Seasons?" Her voice was sweet like iced tea. "The car service is backed up." I went. When she slid into the passenger seat, she said, "You're good. You know that?" The family glue. She reached into her clutch and pressed something into my palm. I looked down. $15. 110, 15, folded sharp. "For gas," she said, smirking. "Don't say I never give you anything." I laughed because I didn't trust myself to do anything else. I stuck the bills under the rubber mat by the cup holder. I kept them there. A little joke between me and the part of me that still expected someone to notice. When Dad died, the house filled with flowers and opinions. Mom cried in soft loops. Naomi took calls on the back porch and said things like optics and controlling the narrative. I wrote thank you notes and kept the coffee hot. The day before the will reading, Mom sat across from me at the kitchen table. "You know Naomi will run the company," she said, stirring tea she didn't drink. "That's what your father wanted." "I know," I said. "You're a good son," she added, like a tip. "Naomi needs you." "I know," I said again, because anything else would start a fight. Here's the part one haven't said yet. The money was real. People whispered about it for years. Valuations, multiples, exits, and the last valuation before he got sick put Keen Freight and the related assets at around $160 million. I never saw the stacks, but I saw the houses, the planes with logos, the way people stood up straighter when Dad walked into a room. I saw Naomi get an office with a view the month after she graduated. I saw the company pay her consulting fees during a year she took time to grow. So when she leaned over in that law office and whispered, "You get $15, bro," I didn't flinch. It felt like a punchline to a joke that had been running since I was 12. What I didn't know yet, what she didn't, either, was that Dad had written a second joke. Not funny, but sharp. He'd never say, "I see you," with a hug. He said it in logistics. He said it in rules. And all the rules were about to change. Lawson adjusted his glasses. The room got quieter in that strange, heavy way, like snow starting to fall. "Mr. Keen executed a codicil," he said, tapping the stapled pages. "It modifies certain distributions and conditions." Naomi sat up straight. "Conditions?" Lawson read. "To my daughter, Naomi Keen, You will inherit operational control of Keen Freight and all related entities, contingent upon the satisfaction of the following. 1. Full repayment from your personal funds of any debts, advances, or obligations incurred on your behalf by family members in the last 36 months. 2. Ongoing employment of my son, Sean Keen, at his current salary if he chooses to remain, with no reduction in benefits or hours without his written consent. 3. Recognition of Sean Keen as co-executor of my personal estate alongside counsel. He turned a page. The sound was a small cut. Naomi laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. What debts? I don't have debts. Lawson didn't look up. Attached is a ledger of advances to Ms. Keen and charges she requested be floated by immediate family. Totals are itemized. He slid a copy toward her. Mom's breath caught when she saw the number. Naomi's face collapsed and then reassembled like she was trying to remember which mask fit the room. There's a mistake, she said. Dad paid those. That's family. Lawson kept reading. To my son, Sean Keen, you will receive a $50,000 bequest immediately and a trust equal to the value of any outstanding advances you covered on behalf of your sister or mother, multiplied by 5. Distribution upon verification. The room tilted. My ears rang. I stared at my hands. Grease under the nails. A scar on my knuckle from a frozen pallet door. I felt like I'd stood up too fast. 5. Naomi said, voice sharp. This is insane. He was never going to. There is also a note, Lawson said gently. He read it, but he didn't have to. I knew the cadence. Sean, he read, you never asked for anything. I gave you too little and too late. This is not about punishment. It is about settling accounts. I built a company keeping promises on paper. Consider this my last delivery. I didn't move. I couldn't. Mom stared at the table. Naomi scrambled for a target. Her eyes landed on me. You did this, she said. You got in his ear. You made him write this. I signed as a witness, I said. That's it. You knew, she snapped. You let me plan everything. You let me. She gestured at her black dress like the fabric had betrayed her. I opened my mouth, closed it, and then forced out the only sentence that mattered. Naomi, I floated 12 copays, your tax bill last spring, and a credit card minimum because you said your liquidity was tied up. The amounts are in my shoebox. If Dad multiplied it by 5, that's not on me. She slammed her hand on the table. You're a driver. Yeah, I said. And I drove. Mom finally spoke. Voice thin. We will challenge this. Lawson folded his hands. The no contest clause is very clear. Naomi stood so fast her chair scraped. I'm not repaying anything. I won't. I built that brand with him. I earned. No, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. It surprised even me that I had a voice left. You didn't build it. Dad did. I helped. You took the photos. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Naomi leaned across the table. You think this makes you equal? I shook my head. No. This makes me done. What does that mean? Mom asked, alarm creeping in. It means I'm not your spare card anymore, I said. No more midnight pickups. No more last-minute favors that cost me rent. No more being the mopping crew after your mess. I'll do my job. I'll finish my routes. I'll handle my part of the estate. But I'm not the glue. Naomi sneered. You can't walk from family. I took a breath and felt it land. This isn't about revenge, I said. This is about closure. Lawson cleared his throat softly, like punctuation. Shall we continue? He did. He read the rest. Most of it was numbers and boring words that mean power. Naomi stopped listening halfway through and started texting with her thumb flying. Mom stared at her hands like they belonged to someone else. When it ended, everyone waited for me to do something. Apologize, maybe. Offer to be reasonable. Make it easy for the room. I didn't. I stood. I tucked my chair in. I nodded to Lawson. Thank you. Naomi's voice chased me to the door. It was $15, she said, desperate now. You know that was a joke. I know, I said, hand on the knob. I kept it. What? The 15, I said. It's under my cup holder. I see it every day. Her face went still. For a second, I saw the kid she used to be. Then it was gone. I walked out. The carpet in the hall was thick. My boots sank into it and made no sound at all. The phone started ringing before I cleared the parking garage. I watched the screen light up with Mom and Naomi and private number, and I turned the volume down. By the time I got home, there were 32 missed calls and 14 voicemails. By morning, there were 87 missed calls total and 41 text messages. Miguel's text came first. You good? Yeah. You look like someone who just swallowed a battery. I'll explain later. Coffee at 6? Bring the battery. At work, I kept to my route. I lifted. I scanned. I smiled at reception desks. It felt safe, the way repetition always does. When I parked behind a bakery at 7:10 a.m., the owner handed me a paper bag with 2 warm rolls. For the road, she said, like she knew something had shifted and I needed carbs to cross it. At lunch, I finally played the voicemails. Mom went first. She cried. She accused. She negotiated with ghosts. Sean, we're family. Your sister is devastated. Think of your father. The second voicemail was Naomi's voice, flat with anger. You think you're clever? You think this will make people take you seriously? You drive boxes, Sean. The third was quieter, almost a whisper. Please call me. We can make a plan. They wanted me to come over that night. I didn't. I went to the gym and did slow, ugly work under a bar. Then I went home and wrote down numbers. I wrote the dates and amounts from my shoebox into a clean notebook. Copays. The tax infusion. The temporary 2 a.m. loan after the gala. $5,820 total. 5 times that would be $29,100. Plus the $50,000 bequest. It wasn't $160 million, the number everyone liked to whisper about when they talked about my dad, but it was the first time in my life a ledger tilted toward me. The next day, HR called. Not from my company. From Keen Freight. We see you're listed as co-executor. A woman said, her tone polite and tight. We'll need signatures to access certain accounts. I'll meet with counsel, I said. I'm not signing anything today. At 3 p.m., Naomi called from the company number. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. I picked up on the third ring because I was tired of hearing the phone vibrate. What do you want? I said, standing in the shade beside my van. You need to come in, she said. No hello? There's a board call at 4. I'm on a route. Sean, she snapped. This is bigger than your little errands. I looked at the stacked boxes, each one with a name attached. That's what you never got, I said. These aren't errands. These are promises. She exhaled like I'd said something dirty. Whatever. We're not repaying you. It's offensive. It's arithmetic, I said. She hung up. 2 minutes later, a text. We'll cut you a check for what you fronted. Not a penny more. It's not up to you. I typed, then erased it. I put the phone down. I finished the route. That night, Miguel sat on my couch with a beer, watching me stare at a blank TV. So your dad left you a calculator, he said finally. And multiplied 1, I said. And a boundary. He raised the bottle. To boundaries. I clinked it. We sat in silence. It wasn't awkward. It was full. Naomi didn't show up at my apartment, but Mom did. Day 3, 8:15 p.m. She wore that perfume that always lingers in the air even after she leaves a room, like a last word. She stood in my doorway and looked small. I moved the chain and let her in. I didn't know, she said immediately. About the codicil. I swear. I believe you, I said. He did it in the garage. That's where he put the good things. Her mouth trembled. You're angry with me. I'm tired, I said. Different thing. She sat on my thrift store couch and smoothed a wrinkle in her skirt that wasn't there. Naomi's been crying. I'm not her mop, I said gently. She's under pressure, Mom said, falling into the old groove. The press is calling. The board wants statements. People think she did something wrong. She didn't write the codicil, I said. Dad did. Mom looked at me like I'd said a riddle. But you could fix this. No, I said. I could hide it. That's what I've always done. I'm not doing that anymore. We sat. The clock in the kitchen ticked. A siren passed a few blocks away and folded itself into quiet. Finally, she whispered, what do you want from me? I swallowed. The answer was simple and impossible. For you to stop pretending that making me small keeps the family together. Her eyes filled. I never. You did, I said soft. Every time you called me, our steady boy, while Naomi got to be our star. Every time you handed me a bill and told me what a good son I was for paying it. You taught me that love is a list of chores. She put a hand to her mouth. I want something different now, I said. I want love that doesn't cost me rent. Mom stared at the floor. Your father was complicated. So am I said. And I'm done pretending I'm not. She stood. She touched my shoulder like she was checking that I was real. Will you come for dinner Sunday? We can talk. I'll think about it, I said. It wasn't a lie. I did think about it. I decided no. The board tried to get cute. A letter arrived asking me to voluntarily relinquish co-executor duties for the sake of expediency. It came with a fruit basket. I took a photo of the basket, sent it to Lawson, and wrote, "Is this a joke?" He replied with a single line, "Don't sign anything without me." Naomi posted a black and white photo of Dad on Instagram with a caption about honor and legacy. The comments were hearts and crowns. She turned off DMs. She did not turn off her calls to me. Day 6, she tried a new angle. Let's be strategic, she said. We'll say you were overwhelmed, and I stepped in. We'll keep it in the family. You can be on the foundation. Like a community liaison. There it was again. The safe corner. The invisible chair. The box marked good son. No, I said. I'm going to do my routes. I'm going to finish the estate process clean. And then I'm going to live my life. And the money, she said, spitting the word like a pit. It's not about the money, I said, and then I surprised both of us. But it's not about the money either. I'm not embarrassed to say that it matters that Dad saw me. Even if it's late. Even if it's ugly. She was quiet for a long time. You'll keep the 15? She said finally. Yeah, I said. It reminds me what I used to accept. Weeks passed. The calls got less frantic and more strategic. The texts got longer and sadder. We miss you. Family is everything. You're breaking Mom's heart. I counted 112 missed calls at one point. 112 like a doorbell someone leaned on. I set my phone to do not disturb and learned the shapes of silence. In the mornings, I stretched. I packed a lunch. I took different routes just to see different streets. I started listening to a podcast about old baseball games. It felt like breathing with the top button undone. Lawson sent statements. Numbers moved. Trustees verified the shoebox. The math did what math does. A deposit hit. I stared at it like it might jump. It didn't. It just sat there, clean as a white tile. I paid off my car. I put 3 months' rent aside. I fixed the slow leak in my bathroom sink. I bought a pair of boots that didn't squeak. Nothing flashy. No victory lap. Just repairs. On Sunday, I drove by my mother's house and didn't stop. I parked 2 streets over and watched people arrive. Naomi's laugh floated down the walk, bright and brittle. Through the window, I saw Mom pass a bowl to an empty chair beside her. My chair. She set the bowl down, then moved it, like she couldn't remember where I sat. I sat in my van and felt a weird ache in my throat. Not regret. Not relief. Just the stretch of a new habit forming. That night, I pulled the rubber mat up and took out the 15. I smoothed the bills on the kitchen counter. I could still hear her saying it. You get $15, bro. I put the 10 in my wallet. I taped the 5 to the inside of my cabinet, where I see it every morning when I reach for coffee. I don't hate my sister. Not really. Hate takes energy. What I feel is smaller and more honest. I feel done. And being done is loud in a quiet way. It changes the acoustics of a life. 2 months later, Naomi called. Voice bare. I repaid it. The ledger. Okay. Dad knew you kept receipts. Not funny. Survival. The board's fine. Press will move on. Are we okay? I looked at my boots, the fixed sink, the 5 in the cabinet, my scarred hands. We're not okay. Just not what we were. Come to the foundation event. It'd look good. No. Thanks. Right. Do the job well, I said. Try mornings. She gave a small, real laugh. I hate mornings. Me too. I walked without headphones, streetlights, a sky that didn't care. A kid wobbled on a bike. His dad jogged behind. No one fell. An unknown number buzzed. I let it go. At home, I looked at the 5. Old me would have called back and cleaned up. I'm not him. This isn't revenge. It's boundaries, not bills. I still drive and lift, but add small things. Park hoops, dinners, a dumb savings chart. Maybe I'll leave one day. For now, I like finishing routes. Steady for me. No gala finale. Just fixes, clear nose, the 5 where I see it. Dad kept promises on paper. At the end, he kept one to me. Closure isn't a clean desk. It's letting the door shut. I won't be glue that cuts me. I'll build what fits.